Another nail in my coffin!
Hey everybody, it's your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete here, and this is my series Nails in a Coffin, where we learn that with great kills there must always come great nails. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. We're covering Saw 3 this week, which again was released 1 year after Saw 2. Now, the first two movies in this franchise are really damn good, and I'm looking forward to covering Saw 3 on Nails in a Coffin. Before we start, I want to ask if you could please hit that subscribe button. I'd love to get to 500 subs by the end of the year, and with your help, I think we can all do that. So, at the end of last week's episode, I kept hearing that Saw laugh. Yeah, that one. And I don't know if I should be concerned. What is this?
Hello.
Hey everyone, I'm back. Sorry about that. That was really weird. So I guess I passed out. Someone gassed me or something. So I woke up and there was a message on my phone, and it was the Billy puppet, I guess, because of the voice. And he said I need to continue to making all these Saw films, covering them on Nails in the Coffin, and I have until Halloween to cover all the Saw films. So I was like, doing the math in my head. By the time this one comes out, doing one a week, I should be good to go. There's 9 Saw films, so I think I should be good by Halloween. So I think we're good, but Billy did say that if I didn't get all the Saw movies covered by Halloween, then I would be the one to get nailed. And he didn't say it like, he make it sound like it was going to be fun. So I should be able to do it. Just got to keep my schedule, and we should be good to go. So, all right, let's get down to business and finish talking about Saw 3. Let's talk about those average nails in a coffin for the first 2 films. We know that the first Saw had an average of 1.4 nails in a coffin, and Saw 2 came in a little bit lower with 1.25 nails, which makes sense. There were a lot of dumb decisions in that movie, so let's find out how Saw 3 victims are going to fare with my nails in a coffin. Now, I have a feeling this one may be a challenge, since some of these kills are people in traps that they have to rely on Jeff to free them, or the traps are inescapable. So I'm going to do my best, see how I rate them, and if I can't rate them, I'll just talk about how stupid Jeff was. So you should cover everything. Everybody, let's get started. Sit back, relax, and let's get to the nailing. Movie starts with the ending of part 2, with Detective Matthews trapped in the decrepit washroom. His ankle is still chained to the pipe. He tries a hacksaw, but it's not going to cut through the chain. So he uses the flashlight around, and he sees Dr. Gordon's severed foot. So he knows what he's expected to do, but he does something else. Instead of cutting off his foot, he picks up a brick and smashes into his foot multiple times, breaking the bones. And he does this till he was able to pull his busted foot out of the shackle on his ankle. Now, I will say this was probably the better thing to do than actually cutting your foot off. On to our first death. After that cold open, we learn about Jigsaw's next victim. Detective Carey found the remains of Troy. He woke up trapped in a room with a nail bomb on a timer. He has chains on rings to various parts of his bodies, his hands, his back in multiple spots, his side, his heels, and one going through his jaw. His time is running out, and he has to rip all these rings out of his body before the bomb explodes so he can get to safety. He starts yanking, and he's getting them all out of his body. It's really gruesome to watch. It's pretty brutal. But he's only got a few seconds left, and he has one chain left, but it's the one through his lower jaw. He can't do it. Time runs out, and the bomb explodes. Our first set of nails are going to go to Troy, and I'm going to give him 3 nails in the coffin. He yanked all the rings he could, and that had to be excruciating. You know, he kept pulling them out of his hand, his back, his sides, even through his heels by his Achilles tendon. So that would have been more pain than anyone could even imagine experiencing. But I don't think anyone would have been able to rip that chain out of their jaw the way he had it. He wasn't given a lot of time. If he wasn't given that one in the jaw, I believe he could have done it, but he saved that one for last, and he still kept all this yanking. Probably not realizing until the end, okay, I can't get this one in my jaw out. But he did try. He didn't give up. He tried to the last second, so I got to give him credit for that. He went through a hell of a lot of pain at the end. And yeah, I think he definitely deserves at least those 3 nails in the coffin. Detective Carey is next to get nailed, and this death made me sad because I like Dina Meyer. I've got a crush on her from Starship Troopers. She was in her home going over some evidence, and she's watching a video on a TV, and when she uses a remote, it switches to an image inside of her room. The image is coming from inside of her closet, so she actually grabs her gun, fires into the closet. No one's in there. When she goes check behind the door, there was just a camera. Behind her, she's attacked and knocked unconscious. She wakes up in a trap hooked up to her rib cage. She's got a short amount of time till the trap springs and she's ripped open. She has to retrieve a key that was dropped into a beaker of acid. So she's got to get this key before it dissolves. So she puts her hand in the acid. It's starting to dissolve away her hand. But she pushes herself through and gets the key out in time. She goes to unlock the trap, but it doesn't release. Somebody walks into the room and Carrie recognizes this person. It's too late and the trap springs and kills her. The lovely detective Carrie is awarded 3 nails in a coffin. She's been on a jigsaw case for a while, so she understood about the traps. She had no clue her trap was inescapable, but she did know if she did nothing, she would be dead for sure. She didn't waste much time. She pretty much quickly put her hand into that acid quickly. The initial shock made her pull it out right away, but she didn't waste any more time. She got the key as her hand was melting away. I believe if Jigsaw actually set the trap himself, she would have done enough to survive. But it wasn't him who set it. I would have given her more nails if she wasn't kidnapped in her own apartment. But the way she responded to the trap, how quickly she reacted, yeah, I think she deserves a solid 3 nails in the coffin. Our next death occurs after Jeff wakes up trapped somewhere in Jigsaw's hideout, which is an abandoned meatpacking plant. His son had passed away a few years prior, killed by a drunk driver. Now Jigsaw is putting Jeff through a series of tests, and he's going to be able to confront those he holds responsible with anger and vengeance for the death of his son. And these tests will lead Jeff to the man who is responsible for the loss of his child. Jeff's first test is someone who is the only witness to his son's accident, Danica Scott. Jeff walks into a giant freezer with a new Danica chained to the ceiling. He walks around her for a moment, he finds a tape, and he plays it with Jigsaw's message. The tape tells Jeff that Danica was a witness to the accident but chose not to testify, leading the driver to get a lighter sentence. Only Jeff can save her now, with water spraying on her and then quickly freezing due to the temperatures. There's a key hanging behind some pipes that will unlock Danica. Jeff just keeps taking his time, yelling at Danica, walking around her, despite her pleas and screams for help. He eventually gets the key, losing some face skin in the process, but it's way too late and Danica has frozen to death. Danica is going to get a pass on this one. There's really nothing she could do. We didn't even see how she was abducted. She pleaded with Jeff for him to help her. She apologized as well. I didn't see anything she did inherently as stupid while in the trap. She was terrified and freezing to death, begging for her life. It was poor ass, dumbass Jeff who didn't do anything for her, so it wasn't much Danica can do here, so she's going to get a pass. In his second test, Jeff encounters Judge Halden. He's the one who presided over the case of his son Dylan's death. He's chained to the bottom of a large vat. Rotting pig carcasses are dropped in giant spinning blades, and the vat is slowly filling with that lovely concoction. Jeff has a choice. He can let him drown in the slop or retrieve a key to unlock the judge's shackle by burning his son's possessions in an incinerator. After some more hesitation from Jeff, as the vat is filling up and the judge is about to drown, Jeff finally activates the incinerator, gets the key, he jumps in the vat, and he's able to save the judge's life. And for our next kill, we go back to the first film. We never nailed Adam, but we were able to confirm his death in Saw 2. Here we find out what happened to him. Amanda, who was then working at Jigsaw's protege, went to check on Adam. He was still alive, but she did take a plastic bag, put it over his head, and suffocated him. Finally getting a chance to give Adam some nails, and I'm going to give him 2.5 nails in a coffin. Going back to the first film, he was shot in the shoulder, and he was still able to fight off and kill Zepp at the end of that movie. The trap he was put in, again, was inescapable because of what Amanda did with the key. He was left down in that basement, bleeding to death. He was probably going to starve to death if he didn't bleed to death. Amanda went there to go check on him, and then she suffocated him. He had some fight in him, and he struggled and tried to get away. He was probably leaked from blood loss and exhaustion and everything else. He didn't give up on trying to survive, so that's going to earn him a solid 2.5 nails in the coffin. Eventually, Jeff and the judge reach the room of Jeff's third test. It's the drunk driver, Timothy Young. He's strapped to a device with all his limbs and neck shackled to this large rack. The device is going to slowly twist his arms and legs and then his head. By the time Jeff does anything, just about all of Timothy's limbs are destroyed. The key to the device was in a case tied to a loaded shotgun. Jeff would have to injure himself to get the key to save Timothy. The judge is trying to get Timothy out of the trap. And in a shocking moment of intelligence, Jeff actually unscrews the bolt connected to the key instead of pulling the rope. Unfortunately, the shotgun still discharges and it shoots the judge in the head, killing him as he was actually trying to save Timothy himself. I'm going to give the judge 2.5 nails in a coffin. He was trying to help Timothy the entire time. He was yelling at Jeff to do something. The judge was in the wrong place at the wrong time because he was down the end of the barrel of the shotgun. He didn't notice since he was mostly concerned with trying to save Timothy, and he just went through an ordeal himself, almost drowning in pig slop. He was trying to save someone else's life when he was killed, and in my book of nails, that's going to get you at least 2.5 nails in a coffin. Jeff really didn't have much of a reaction when the judge was killed. He tries to save Timothy, but his head is already at 90 degrees and it's still moving backwards. Jeff doesn't try much, and he sees Timothy dying, and he doesn't really try to key on anything. He's just kind of tapping it around on stuff. He doesn't do anything, and it's already too late. Timothy's agony is finally over. With Timothy, I'm going to give him a pass. He was helpless in his trap. His fate was in the hands of Jeff. He begged for forgiveness. He begged for his life. There wasn't much else he could have done down there. This trap was totally, completely out of his hands. It was all up to Jeff. So, just like Danica, Timothy is going to get a pass. So while all of Jeff's tests were going on, Jigsaw was actually having surgery performed on him to relieve the pressure on his brain. Lynn is a doctor that Amanda had kidnapped in order to provide treatment to Mr. John Kramer. Lynn performs the surgery, but she does have this device strapped to her neck, and it's told to her that if John's heart stops, the device will detonate and kill her. So she's very set on keeping John Kramer alive. After surgery, Lynn is talking to John. Amanda shows up, and John asks her to let Lynn go. However, Amanda does refuse. She no longer believes in John's philosophy. Meanwhile, Jeff has finished all of his tests, and he's about to actually enter the room with Amanda, John, and Lynn. Amanda has a gun pointed at Lynn, and she just wants to kill her. But before Jeff gets in there, he finds a gun with a message that reads, "Last chance." He picks up the gun with one bullet in the magazine, and he loads it into the pistol. Amanda, she didn't want to let Lynn go, so as soon as Jeff enters the room, Amanda shot Lynn in the back. Lynn falls into Jeff's arms, who is her husband. Jeff immediately shoots Amanda in the neck. She falls down, and John tells her that this was her final test to see if she can let someone live. She failed the test, and then she bleeds out and dies. Shawnee Smith as Amanda for the first 3 films is a standout performance in this franchise. I do love her. Got a little bit of crush on Shawnee Smith. That was from, Who's Harry Crumb? I'm old. That won't help Amanda with her nails, and I'm going to give her 1 nail in the coffin. She's been working with John for a while now, so she knows about his traps and his philosophy. She knows he likes to test people. It's what he does. I mean, if you're Jigsaw's protege, you would think he's the last person you want to betray and go against. This was a dumb move by Amanda. She had no legit reason to shoot Lynn. She just did it out of jealousy, and it was bad timing that Jeff showed up just in time to shoot Amanda. We learned at the same time Amanda dies that Jeff is Lynn's wife. And I do argue that Amanda was stupid for shooting Lynn because that resulted in her getting shot and killed by Jeff. Overall, I will say great performance by Shawnee Smith, but Amanda, you're getting 1 nail in the coffin. With the last 2 deaths for Saw 3, we just learned that Jeff and Lynn are in fact married, and they've been having marital issues since we saw Lynn cheating on Jeff at the beginning of the movie. Jeff is trying to contemplate what the hell is going on. John tells Jeff about letting go of his vengeance. The only way to save Lynn is to forgive John for what he just put him through tonight. Jeff wants to shoot Jigsaw, but he has a choice to make. Can he let Jigsaw live and save his wife and his other child? Jeff checks on Lynn, and she's barely hanging on to life. Jeff looks like he's going to let John live. He even tells John, "I forgive you." But then Jeff picks up a circular saw, makes a decision to slash John's throat with it, killing him. Jeff watches as John bleeds out and is dying, and as soon as his heart stops, the trap on Lynn's neck is detonated, and she is also killed. Okay, our last 2 deaths in the movie, last ones to get nailed. First up is John Kramer, a.k.a. Jigsaw. I'm giving him 3.5 nails in the coffin. The guy has a genius level of intellect. The way he orchestrated everything in the first 3 movies was something else. He had elaborate traps and even an elegance to his methods. He was dying of colon cancer and a frontal lobe tumor, Yet he still had all of his intellect and his drive. He wasn't afraid to die, but he also wanted to live. He was faced with a life-threatening situation with his cancer and tumor diagnosis, and he did a lot in order to survive, all while making traps and testing other people. He was smart and had a big, strong will to live. Like I said, he wasn't afraid to die. He kept fighting till the end and taking everything into consideration. I think he earned himself a good 3.5 nails in a coffin. And our final set of nails go to Lynn, and I'm going to give her 2.5 nails in a coffin. She remained calm and collected even though she was being held captive with a device designed to kill her secured around her neck. She performed surgery on someone else's skull, not in a hospital, but in a dirty room, or she didn't have any assistance from anybody. She did it all by herself because she had to, otherwise she would die. She kept it cool and performed a very complicated surgery very well. It's not her fault she was killed. It was dumbasses Jeff's fault and Amanda's fault for being a jealous snot, I guess. I think she did a great job in this movie. I really liked the character. She made smart and tough decisions. So she exits this franchise with 2.5 nails in the coffin. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are all my nails in a coffin for Saw 3. Here's a summary of all the nails I've awarded. This is how the first 3 movies compare with their average nails in a coffin. Saw 1 coming in with 1.4 nails in the coffin. Saw 3 an average of 1.25 nails. And Saw 3 coming with a big, hefty average of 2.57 nails in the coffin. Very high for nails in the coffin, but I feel like it's accurate for this movie because of how people thought it was Jeff's fault some of the times, giving passes around. And yeah, I really didn't see a lot of stupid decisions made in this movie. And this is definitely one of the highest averages I've ever covered on Nails in a Coffin. And hopefully you continue to share this time with me in the upcoming weeks to see if any other movie is going to get as high of an average or how low. How do you think the rest of these movies are going to compare? Well, we're going to find out next week when I cover Saw 4, which I believe came out 1 year later after Saw 3. I hope to see you there. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss us nailing this entire franchise. I'm having a lot of fun, and I really do have to... Yeah, I know. Stupid laugh. I got to keep making these movies if I don't want to get nailed myself and not in the good way. So, fingers crossed I can keep my schedule. So, I don't think you guys are going to miss it. All right? Take care of yourselves and each other and be good to each other. I am your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete. And remember, with great kills, there must always come great nails.